Chaos, confusion, and mass cancellations. Thousands of people living their worst travel nightmares across the country just this weekend. Southwest Airlines canceling nearly 2,000 flights, and the disruptions continuing today with more than 350 being called off and another 750 delayed. Frustration boiling over for passengers who say they were completely blindsided.
We didn't find out till 5 o'clock this morning that it was canceled, and then we were on the phone for, 7 hours?
7 hours before they answered.
44 minutes before they answered the phone because it was so backlogged.
They said they were having problems. They wouldn't say what it was, and you're lucky you got a flight.
The weather's fine in all connecting areas. There's no bad weather. There's got to be something behind the scenes that they're not telling us.
Southwest blaming the problems on air traffic control issues and severe weather, but the FAA contradicting that claim and says it is not to blame for what happened. Now, the mass cancellations come during a controversy over the airline's new vaccine policy. Southwest and its pilots union denying that it had anything to do with a wave of cancellations, but one pilot did warn it could lead to shortages.
It's going to bring the airline industry to its knees. They can't operate with a 10% loss of their work groups currently. This affects the consumer. You know, we don't just fly people. We fly organs, we fly blood for hospitals, medical equipment, fresh food. This is going to affect your economy. It's going to affect your lifestyle, and it's going to affect the markets. It is a big deal.
Greg, it seems like the airlines forget that it's not the 1980s when if they said there's a weather issue, you were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because there was no way to tell. Now everybody has it all on their phone.
Right. And also, I mean, what you're seeing is the government didn't do this. The government isn't controlling this. This is pilots. If this is true, like if it's actually about the mandates, then you're seeing a group of people who decide that it's important enough that they can actually control a resource that can put a stop to anything because they believe that they have the right to. I know the personal is always political for the left, and decades ago that was essential with Jim Crow, makes the personal political. But now everything personal is political, except I'm willing to bet that 99% of the people that are involved in this stance, it's not us versus them. It's not a political thing. I think this is a personal thing. I think it's about their families and decisions that they want to make about their bodies. But when the left introduces politics into an issue, it becomes a prison of two ideas. Oh, okay, you're either for it or you're against it. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican. But I think that crowds out all the reasons and the stories and the realities that people are basing their decisions on. And I think that's what these pilots are doing. I also think that we're at this stage where we keep redefining normal, everyday stuff. You look at Australia right now, this accelerated government intervention in the name of acceptable risk. They keep making risk less acceptable. So government shows up at your house because you went to an anti-vax mandate protest, and we keep telling people different things. Oh, this is only for 2 weeks. Oh, there's not going to be a mandate. Oh, masks don't have to be worn outside. But then every day we slightly change it so something becomes more acceptable and the population falls more and more in line. And it makes you wonder. The big question is, what are we going to be like in 2022 or 2023? Yeah. Like, how much will we accept, right?
And what could we even be like in 2 months, Jesse? The left's war on Christmas could continue with delays and shortages of pilots right around the holidays.
Yeah, Mayor Pete's going to have his hands full. I mean, he is really in charge of that. Where is Mayor Pete if you have all this labor action happening right before the holidays, Christmas?
This is Jesse Jr.'s first Christmas. He must have strong feelings.
Jesse Jr. does have strong feelings. And he said this morning when I was giving him a walk in the stroller, he said, Dad, Joe Biden wants this. Yeah. Joe Biden was just bragging about companies laying off the unvaxxed. So this is exactly what happens when you slap a mandate on like this. But Dana, if you've read the latest in The Federalist.
Oh, okay.
Sure you have.
I like how you were
The vax mandate's a mirage. The rule has never even been written.
Right.
It might not even ever be written. And then once it's written, it has to go through lawyers. And then once it's established, it's 6 months until the companies have to do anything. So the companies fell in line over a press release, over a threat. And now you're seeing the results of that threat. I was in California over the weekend giving a speech, and I ran into the lobby of one of these, I think she was a flight attendant, could have been a pilot. She works for Southwest.
She could have been a pilot.
She had a uniform on. It was hard to see. It was late at night, Dana. And at first she was mad at me. She said, you always trash Southwest. And I said, there's a lot of fights there. I mean, I'm just doing my job. But then she said, Jesse, I have been at this company for 23 years, and they are about to fire me. because I have the antibodies, but because of my religious reasons, I do not want to get the shot. And I am about to be fired after 23 years. She said a lot of the other people at the other airlines, they're giving religious exemptions. American Airlines, oh, religious exemption check, because they want to keep people there. But Southwest is not doing that. They're being real tough with it. And she actually predicted that there was going to be action taken to have something like this happen. And then the very next day, Monday, look what happened.
In August, President Biden, Harold, he said the supply chain concerns really temporary, and that his experts had told him that they would alleviate as the economy improved. But we're not seeing that. And actually, the supply chain issue now, it's front page news, and we're all leading with it. Shelves are empty, and now you have the airline thing, and the cascading effect of that could be that the economy actually does not improve.
Without question, you saw on the front page of the papers today that some of the big retailers are contracting their own cargo shippers to bring in product to make sure that their product's on the shelves in Thanksgiving and Christmas. Look, I think this airline, they mismanaged this thing without question. And whether it's a mandate or not, they should have told consumers and flyers that they were going to be inconvenienced the next day. That being said, if I were a passenger on Southwest Airlines and I was on a plane with an unvaccinated pilot with my unvaccinated 7- and 6-year-old, I'd want to know. And I'm not sure they're sharing it. I think the airline is probably looking at the liability here and saying that maybe if we don't have everyone vaccinated, we're going to have an even bigger set of problems. Two, as I've shared before, I thought Colin Kaepernick, it was right for teams to be able to say, you got to stand when the national anthem is sang. All the people who are defending this freedom platform for those who wish not to get vaccinated, I applaud you. But let's be consistent. There's a consequence if you don't get vaccinated in the private sector. This isn't the government telling United Airlines or Southwest. This is that airline saying we want our pilots and those who work for us vaccinated. And we can disagree with them. I think everyone has the right to express their freedom however they choose to, but there are consequences when you do express your freedom, and indeed, they're living through this. If you'd have told me in 2020, last year, remember, we were in a presidential race last year. We just had our first debate against Biden and President Trump, then Vice President Biden. If you'd have told me that a year later we would have 3 vaccines and that only 60% of Americans would be fully vaccinated, less than 60%, I would have taken the bet on the opposite side of that and probably bet a whole lot at a loss, because I would have thought we would have had 3/4 of our nation vaccinated. The first day I came on this show, you all were kind to have me on the show. Jesse said very clearly, if everyone who's vaccinated still has to wear a mask, that's wrong. I'm vaccinated. The likelihood of me getting this virus is so small, and the likelihood of me getting sick from it is very small, infinitesimally small. Those numbers still exist today. I hope people get vaccinated, and those who choose not to, there will be consequences. And obviously, those Southwest Airline pilots and the personnel there are experiencing some of those consequences.
I'm sorry. You said something that I think is at the kernel of this problem. The question of liability is different than the risk. The risk is so small. So you're talking about the liability, but you're talking about a pilot that is not going to have any contact with the 6-year-old or the 5-year-old. And the air circulation in an airplane is amazing.
But Greg, I hear you, but if the pilot is communicating and has interaction with the flight crew, and the flight crew is delivering apple juice to my 6-year-old or 7-year-old or ginger ale, that is contact. Now, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. One thing I do know, I don't care what the professionals say, I do not want to be in an enclosed environment with someone who's not vaccinated, certainly in the air.
Did you fly before the vaccine? Because
I did not.
The spread of COVID was not a problem on
planes in particular, right?
Period.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be the first.
And everybody, a lot of this is the fear of the unvaccinated by the vaccinated, and that defies the logic of getting vaccinated in the first place. Let me finish. Okay. Last year, we asked airline employees to get back on the job, the pilots and the flight attendants and the gate agents and the baggage handlers. Come back to work, get America back and moving well before there was a vaccine. And the spread of COVID on airplanes, fully masked, and they do enforce those mask mandates on airlines and even in the airports, the ventilation systems on these planes. So to ask all of these individuals to work when it was certainly a lot riskier to do that last year, and then to tell them, get a vaccine or you're fired, that is profoundly unfair. number one. And number two, you're a Democrat. Don't you believe in the sanctity of the union-employer contract? Because that's what this is about. The pilots on Friday, and of course this looks like a coinky-donk, that their 25% of the flights were canceled or grounded yesterday, and there was a lawsuit that was filed on Friday by the pilots union, but they're challenging this vaccine mandate in courts because they say it violates the Railway Act. So that's the root of it. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, by no means.
Before we go, if I hear one more person say, pack your patience if you're flying Southwest Airlines, I think they should be pelted with stale donuts in public.
Or throw them out of the emergency exit.
Well, the other thing is if they tell you that it's weather related, then they don't have to pay for your hotel.
That's what it is.
I don't know. I mean, they say that it's not about the vaccines. I don't know, but
Does that work with outside of airlines?
I don't think so, but we could.
But
see
this is a
about that.
credibility problem. They blame the air traffic control,
not.
and that was not the problem.
FAA is like, no. They're like, weather. People are checking.
Ultimately, the courts will decide this.
Well, they better hurry up. All right, coming up with his agenda on the ropes, President Biden is now begging Democrats to unite and give him a lifeline.